It's AJ Goat, man. I'm going to switch it up here from football and baseball. I want to talk about the UFC. I want to switch it up to UFC today. So I don't know if it's me or it's everybody. Am I the only one that wants to see my favorite UFC fighter of all time, Conor McGregor, come back to fight? I just wish he would come back to fight. I just always liked Conor McGregor. Obviously because we're the Irish brothers, so I love Conor McGregor, man. I think that he's my favorite UFC fighter. I want to see him come back to the UFC and fight, but obviously, last fight being in 2021 on July 10th. It was the UFC 264 where he lost to Dustin Poirier. So, that's where he received his broken leg. So that was definitely. I remember actually watching that fight, and I remember Conor McGregor with his ankle, his leg looking in a spot where it shouldn't be, which is definitely scary for Conor. It says that he suffered a broken ankle late in the first round. So I think that definitely has affected him a little bit outside of UFC, of not being able to do certain things to train for more fighting to come back to the UFC and fight in the ring. I just always liked that Conor McGregor was always a striker. To me, it didn't look like he was more of like a ground and pound dude. It always looked like to me Conor McGregor would fight hands-on. He'd be more striker. Hit people in the nose and you strike them, do flying elbows, kicks, roundhouse kicks to the shins and calves and all that shit. And then also it says that he lost to Dustin Poirier in the rematch of they had a rematch. It was from the 2014 bout at UFC 257, which they fought again from that, which was in 2021. And now it is also, I'm also bummed out. Also now I'm just finding out about this, is that Conor McGregor's record 22-6-0. So he was actually scheduled to fight the UFC 303 welterweight against Michael Chandler, which was canceled. That was supposed to take place on Saturday, June 29th, 2024. So that was a year ago. So I'm kind of, but it is not said that Conor McGregor is permanently retired. So I would really like to see him come back to the UFC and train a little bit more and start and get ready and just, come back and fight, man. Get in the ring and just fight. I want to see Conor McGregor fight again. He's obviously, like I said, my favorite UFC fighter. And then obviously Dana White obviously announced that it won't happen. The fight against Chandler won't happen because that's actually saying that Conor McGregor pulled out with an injury. And they say that the injury is still unknown. But it's obviously a huge disappointment to Conor McGregor fans like me. So I just found out about that. I thought that fight happened, but no, I'm looking at it and now I see that it's not happening a year later. So I want to look up something here. So hold on. So Conor McGregor is actually training for a combat fight expected at the UFC event in June of 2026, with his anti-doping ban ending in March of 2026. So that means that he's officially maybe coming out of an injury or some personal life situations that he's going through. But while they're saying that there's no official opponent that's a book, but they're definitely looking at Michael Chandler. He's going to want to fight Michael Chandler, and this is 100% the opponent that he wants to fight in the fight of the June 2026 card, which is supposed to be at the White House. Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler might be fighting at the White House of June of next year. So I really want to see Conor McGregor fight this fight, man. I want to see him come back and fight in the UFC. I don't really pay attention to really other UFC fights besides, hold on, I'm forgetting the names, hold on. Oh yeah, there you go. You got the recent fighters that I've actually seen in some UFC fights where I don't want to say their names wrong. Islam Makhachev, Lilia Tupuria. I know how to say his. Merab Dvalishvili. Man, hold on. Alexander Volkanovski is actually one of the fighters that I liked watching in one of the UFC fights as well. I also liked watching, what's his name? There was a guy that I liked watching. That's his name, Sean Strickland. He's the middleweight champion, actually, Sean Strickland. I liked watching him fight, too, and I liked watching Alexander Volkanovski. I liked watching him fight, too. He's a featherweight champion. And then Alexandria Pantaggio, Magomed Ankalaev, and then Jack Della Maddalena. I've watched all these guys fight before, but the only ones that I really liked watching from my experience were the Alexander Volkanovski and Sean Strickland. Those are the only two fighters that I liked. But besides that recent UFC fights and stuff like that, I would just Conor McGregor, man, you need to come back to the UFC, man. Favorite UFC fighter of all time. I want you to come back. I want this fight to happen with you and Michael Chandler at the White House of next year. That would be sick for him to, his first fight back coming from a good while of training to come back to the UFC would be a fight at the UFC, at the White House, which I think is going to be cool as hell. So I want to see it happen, and I'm sure a lot of UFC fans want to see it happen, and Conor McGregor fans want to see it happen. I'm interested to see how this goes out, and yeah. Favorite UFC fighter, Conor McGregor, man. I hope you come back. I want to see you come back and fight because I like the UFC, but I think the UFC is boring without Conor McGregor. So I want to see him come back, and yeah. Definitely didn't expect me to talk about the UFC. I'm also a UFC fan, too. So yeah, that's another thing that I've been watching since I was little, actually. It's been football, baseball, and UFC. Loved watching it, so. And then my favorite fighter from the 2000s actually was, hold on. What's his name? What is his name? Chuck Liddell. Chuck Liddell is also my second favorite UFC fighter of all time. He was the OG of the early 2000s. OG of the early 2000s UFC era. I loved watching him as a kid, man. He just looked insane. I actually had an action figure of Chuck Liddell, and I had one of Conor McGregor when I was little, but I got rid of it. So wish I would have kept it, because talking about my Baltimore Ravens, I have my Ray Lewis toy figures up there. And and then besides that, though, yeah. Chuck Liddell was one of my favorite fighters, too. He's my second favorite fighter behind Conor McGregor. I think he fought Rampage Jackson. I remember that one fight where that was a good-ass fight. I think Chuck Liddell won, too. I've always liked Chuck Liddell, though, and then Conor McGregor. The UFC would be so good if both of them came back, which I don't think Chuck Liddell will, but I definitely feel like Conor McGregor is making his way back, which I think is going to make UFC great, and it's going to make it better. So, Conor McGregor, Irish, baby, the Irish brothers right here. Look, you guys can't see it. I got the... they can't. They can see it a little bit, the green clover on my tattoo. So, let's go, Conor. I want to see you come back and fight, man. Let's go. Go Conor McGregor, man. Favorite UFC fighter. Behind Chuck Liddell is second, Conor McGregor's one. So, yeah.